Yep. Let me see what I can sound. Let me see what I sound now. Okay. All right. I'm back. I'm back for the live show based on Brian Pillman. With I'm going to look at the old photos they have of Brian Pillman when he had started in WCW and ECW and the WWE. I think. Well, it used to be the WWF. It close on in. Pushing like this. All right, we'll look at the photos of Brian Pillman here. The old photos they have here. Everybody knows the story about Brian Pillman, how loose and bad that he is. I don't know how talented he was. Okay, we're looking at his WCW run. You see, okay, we're looking at his WCW run. There's Brian Pillman. This is an old photo of Brian Pillman when he had started at WCW. I feel it was around 1988, 1980, like 1989. He came in from all the way to like 1996. He came in, but it's around 89 to like 94. This is long before the hit 94 when he had hit the talent exchange. Um, they did the talent exchange that's happening like in 94 when he went to ECW. You know, they did so much with it until 95. He was leaving ECW to go back to WCW. He went back to WCW. I think it was around 95 to go work these matches, go work that match with Jushin Thunder Liger, who was a New Japan wrestler. No, but in 1989, he battled the Undertaker. I think some matches that he did there. Um, in 1990, he went to the National Wrestling Alliance. I think he went to National Wrestling Alliance. That I got to find. What's that picture? That picture of Brian when he was at the National Wrestling Alliance. When he was there. Where's he at the National Wrestling Alliance? Where are the old pictures? Where's the old pictures of him? Where is it? Oh, look at this. Oh God, Howard E. Pillman. Oh shit, that guy might be one of Brian's relatives. I gotta find I gotta find the old pictures the old pictures they have of Pillman from 1990 when he was at the National Wrestling Alliance, but I ain't got no pictures of him. Well, they seen a lot. Periodically, it could have been a lot. Well, I told a story about it, but I had to find out where it happened. Looking right at the Pillman, his entire life was already in it. We got a photo. See, this is after Steve Austin came in to WCW. Uh, this is Pillman. This Pillman with Stone Cold Steve Austin when he was studying Steve Austin. I think it was after Barry Windham introduced Pillman to Austin on an inaugural WCW Saturday Night show on January 2nd, 1993. So when there's was something happened here, like when he said this, like and he said, Pillman, I found you a partner, or some reason that he said, I found a partner for you, and that name is Austin. He'll back you up 100. He'll back you up 100%. And see, Austin had. I remember Austin had a conversation with the late Dusty Rhodes, uh, and he had to go talk to him and find out what the hell is going on, and he knew when. This is before the formation of the Hollywood Blondes tag team. It all said through this DVD here. This before and after. This before Austin before this before Steve Austin came to WCW. You got an old photo of flying Brian Pillman in 1990 including and then we got a we got a picture of his son, you know. There's two different pictures. There's Brian Pillman, you know, standing there alongside Jim Ross in 1990 when Jim Ross was working for WCW. Now you get to see Brian Pillman Jr. 2 years ago. Uh, when as he was seen with Jim Ross, it goes back to Brian's dad, Brian Pillman, Brian Jr.'s father, you know, being interviewed by Ross, dated back 33 years, dated back 33 years apart. So you gotta look right at it. Yeah, I find where the old photos are at here. And Pillman was was already in the ring when he had to go wrestle. I think it was like 94, 95. Oh yeah, photo of Pillman. I think it was like 93 when he was teaming up with Steve Austin. When he teamed up with Steve Austin, and then it's before he had to they had to wrestle. Um, I think it was Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Shane Douglas, the franchise Shane Douglas. In some matches for those belts. Oh, you got a WCW card right here. They'll show you. I think it was like what 93, 94, 95. Well, yeah, a picture of Brian. That was I put him. Yeah, here's a it's an autographed WCW card. You know, he was already on it. So after January of '93, uh, was all finished up. Went to February ended of February of '93 ended. Let me show you what the other photo they have of Brian when he met Melanie. Until he met Melanie Morgan, a young Melanie Morgan. She has two children from like two previous marriages. This is before Brian met Melanie. When they met each other, when they met each other before this is long before the wedding, before they tied the knot in on March the 17th, 1993, when they both tied the knot at a local at a ceremony. But this is before uh Brian Pillman Jr. came to the picture. See, anybody else could have known that. So, but we're gonna go straight into his football career. Okay, when Pillman was a football player. Okay, see, it was in like Norwood. You know, it was Norwood High School back in the day and things of that nature. See, when Brian was hitting the gridiron, even though he was in high school, he was in a hockey team. So Brian had polyps that was in his throat. He had throat problems as a kid, even though he started growing up until between the 70s and the 80s. He was into elementary school, and then he was in elementary school even when he was younger, and and to play with the other kids who like were considered friends of his. You know, when he was younger, he um he got laughed at by the other kids because he was like he has this raspy voice. They teased him and laughed at him because he had a raspy voice. So on his way to junior high school, and when he was in junior high school, he overcame all of that from whatever he went through in elementary school. So and things of that nature. And later he went to high school, to play with the hockey team, the Cincy hockey team. That was in that was in Ohio. That was in high school. But later he went in and he got an old photo they have of him there. See, we have old photos they have of him. Things that nobody else even knew of. And and then he was like, it was already like become something that he was known for until he got picked by the Bengals. His hometown football team that he was going to be he's going to be drafted with. So they yanked him, and so they later yanked him and put him with the they yanked him in, and they put him in some. Yeah, they yanked him in, and then later in 1984 he won the Ed Black Courage Award trophy. The Ed Black Courage Award, he won it in '84. See, and he got a newspaper article that was, it says Tub Pill, Cincinnati Bengals rookie linebacking hopeful Brian Pillman takes a break during a workout at Wilmington College. That's what he went to. That's what he used to go to. The Miami University standout. It says here the other half is noted for his aggressiveness. Running back Stanley Wilson dislocated a shoulder Tuesday when tackled by Pillman. That was like an old AP laser photo. It's an old photo, like a Associated Press laser photo from us back in the '80s. Later, this man goes undrafted, and he was getting ready to go get drafted and get sent to uh a New York football team, had to be the Buffalo Bills. And he was the only person to be completely cut with the Bills team, with the Buffalo Bills team. And anybody knows the story when he was mentored uh by Kim Wood. Kim Wood was a strength coach uh back when he was back when he was younger. You know that wouldn't be shown in the archives, in the Brian Pillman DVD. See, you got to see how Pillman looked like, and he's like he tackle everybody if he wanted to in the gridiron. That's all he do. But he was wrong with that team through and through until he got drafted and picked by the Bills, and all of a sudden he got cut from that team. That was a break behind the scenes for him. All the stories they have of Brian, that I did not find out. Okay, okay. How about Brian Pillman? How about Brian Pillman CSW? They don't have nothing of Pillman in CSW. Fine, I'll go back to this. Until he was out of the gridiron between 85 and 86, Pillman went to work at with for Stu Hart at Calgary Stampede Wrestling. That's between 86. He went there in 86. He wrestled those type of matches there. And the truth could have been told. And the truth could have been completely told at that period. Especially for Pillman, until a lot of things have been meant up there until later 1988. He battled he battled I think wrestling a tag team was with Bruce Hart, uh who was Stu Hart and Helen Hart's son, who was once who used to work at CSW. Even though he was out of the ring, he retired. A lot of things that could have been told if you had to look at the old stuff they will show you, and they'll have to look at through it. Until 1989, he battled Lex Luger when he came to WCW, and people knew the story. But when he wrestled me Mark Callis at that time, who was now the Undertaker. The thing that Pillman had done in his career is to upset a bunch of people, but he didn't upset a bunch of people until he met Owen Hart. Until he met the late Owen Hart. He met the late Owen Hart on when when he saw him at CSW. Uh, I think it was the 80s. Just before uh Brian met Bruce. Other things that don't even consider happening on the show. There's an old photo of them. There's an old photo of them in the 80s. This is a photo of them when they met. I think they met in CSW. This they got old photos of them in CSW when they were when they were over there. Until after he was done with football. After Pillman was done with football, he went there to CSW to work for Stu to be to be seen to be meet up with all the guys there. There's an old photo of them. I think that was in CSW in the 80s. There's a photo of Brian Pillman. It was with Owen Hart. You know, it was Bruce and Keith. It was Bruce and Keith Hart who was still alive. This was in the 80s. It was in the 80s when Brian was teaming up with Bruce Hart, uh Owen's brother, Owen and Brett's brother, um in CSW. This is around time before they had to wrestle um a couple of guys. Yeah, they had to wrestle anybody that stand their way. And Bruce Hart was a good wrestler. Don't get me wrong, he was a good wrestler. All the stuff that this man could do, his physique, the business is so good in being respected that even though you had to wrestle professionally, even if you don't have to lose your teeth and cause the brain cells to die anyway. You don't have to. A lot of things are happening at the time period. The business is all they seen until he was leaving in '89 and went to WCW. In 1990, yeah, he got interviewed by Jim Ross, and then he had wrestled. He wrestled. Let me tell you about. Let me see. Even when Pillman had wrestled The Undertaker, I think it was like in '89. Until he wrestled Lex Luger. This is before Lex Luger left WCW to go to WWE for a personal reason. That's where he wrestled. Well, Undertaker was me Marcellus at the time in WCW. Uh, the two guys who used to manage him was Paul Heyman and Teddy Long. Paul Heyman and Theodore Long and Paul Heyman. This is two managers. The two guys that's already been retired from the sport. Well, Paul Heyman, he's already still brought his managing prowess by managing the likes of Roman Reigns all of a sudden. The discussion that happened on the end of things, and everything went in until 1990. He went to National Wrestling Alliance to win the USA tag team titles, where he's teaming up with I think it was called Tom Zank. He teamed up with Tom Zank. Um, they him and Zank got interviewed by Terry Funk. The stories that already been told at that periodical way. I mean, Pillman had that 1988 to 1989 Lucha Libre like high flying wrestling style was more of a 1995 to 1996 type of style that he would have had. He had to be used to. That's all he was used to. That style. They did so much with the ideas that they have. See, this is after Pillman wrestled Luger for the WCW US title, and then he failed to win it. See, these little photos they have of a Pillman and Luger. There's a match that Pillman had with Callaway when he was Mean Mark Callis in WCW. It was at a Clash of the Champions pay per view or show. No, there's more. A lot of things could have been seen in wrestling. It could have been told. Anything that Pillman can possibly do. Well, well, well. That was in September of '89. He wrestled Eddie Gilbert. You know, until August of '92, he wrestled on Saturday night. Um, see, all the stuff that goes on about Pillman was all became gospel to him. until 1991. There's a loser leaves WCW match that he battled. Well, that was taken at the National Wrestling Alliance, but but it was on WCW Saturday night, not WCW Saturday night. But this was shown on WCW Halloween Havoc. That was WCW's pay per view. They say tape machines are rolling, like they say. It only happens in the business. It could have only happened a week behind. All these years they have. Okay, let's see this. See the photos they have of Pillman when until '92. Everybody knows the story. Oh, wait, into '93, he started making a mockery of Ric Flair, and what I mean, they making a mockery out of Ric Flair, and him and Steve Austin. They making a mockery out of him. I feel it's on the Saturday night show. The Flair for the Gold, Flair for the Gold. They used a parody of it. It's called the Flair for the Old, and they made fun of him. Then Arn Anderson and Arn Anderson came out there, and then he heard enough of Austin and Pillman making fun of Rick. They making fun of Rick. So Arn punched Steve, and then Brian trying to use this woman, uh Katane or Katane. Uh Brian used this woman as a shield to protect him from Arn. From Arn. Then Arn wants to get his hands on Steve, and and Brian pulls out a walking stick. He pulls out a cane and just whacked Arn in the back with it. And they're about to start running out of tape, running out of tape and time. It ends with Pillman and Austin beating up Anderson. And then you gotta look at the Clash of Champions taping that was on, I think it was on TBS. I think it was Pillman in Austin. Let me show you about this thing. See, I'll show you. There's Pillman and Austin teaming up against Anderson and Flair. I feel it was in like, even though they had a match. I think it was a Clash of Champions. I think it was in '93. Now, until they had a series of matches with Steamboat and Douglas, so they knew the story went in. Then he went to start battling, and all of a sudden, 93, 94. That's where the Blondes decided to go their separate ways. And Brian goes on his singles run. Steve had to go into a singles run, and he might have his title run. You know, even though Brian has kids, Steve has kids. You know, but he has kids. You know, one of them had to be one had to be his son Brian Zachary Pillman. He has the all of the kids there from Melanie's marriages. They have Skylar and Lexus. There's some two other previous marriages Melanie had. Two other children from Melanie's previous marriages. So they put Pillman in the tag team. So it put Austin and Pillman in separate teams. So it was Austin, Orndorff, and Rick Rude. I think it was with I think it was versus there's Steve Austin, there's Paul Orndorff. I think it was Rick Rude. I think it's with Dustin Rhodes, Brian Pillman, and Sting. Everybody else knew the story. But back in '89, nobody else even know what happened. So until it all happened, it flipped. And then he was on. Then he went on to ECW after he has these matches with Steve Austin, one-on-one singles matches. He went there for some sort of talent exchange, and people knew the story behind it. Pillman had done something. It went completely on the end of things. Well, it's after '92 was finished up when he had wrestled. He had wrestled Jushin Liger, Jushin Liger. You know, things of that nature. Around '92, I think he wrestled, and then he wrestled Richard Morton from the Rock and Roll Express. Rock and Roll Express, one half of that tag team, Rock and Roll Express. Richard Morton, and then the lady was already standing right there. I think it was that I did not even know. The lady that was already there. I don't even know it was Missy Hyatt or Alexandra York or one of them. I don't even know. One of those women probably probably accompanied Ricky Morton. So they used to have cheerleaders in WCW. So that only became a thing. In 1990, they had I think it was the early 90s there. Uh, I think they had I think it was a Wrestle War inside a cage. I think it was a double cage match. I think it was the Four Horsemen. It was Flair, Zabisco, uh, it was Flair, Zabisco, Wyndham, I think, and Psycho Sid, especially. I feel it's against Brian Pillman, Sting, and the Scott and Rick and Scott Steiner. I feel it was in a cage. That was like it was a double cage that was with all 80s guys in it. So match was so like submit. So it's like a submit or surrender type of thing. It was like an old war games type of match that nobody else even seen before. The style that he had, he wrestled guys as that was as over in the business. William Regal, you know, he wrestled a couple of guys. He wrestled Arn Anderson, Barry Windham. He wrestled him. All guys he wrestled, and nobody else even knew that came within the territory. Until '95, he came back to WCW. He came back to WCW. I think it was in '95 when he had to. It's around he had his idea. They had this idea where he had to be interfering to help Arn Anderson. He had to help Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson, Double A himself, the enforcer. He doing this to help him win against the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and then I think it was a fall brawl. I think not know it's fall brawl there. So the thing is, he was already leaving to go back to WCW to get himself air. When they had that when he was out there, when when Anderson and Flair had their match, Ric Flair stand there by the ring ropes, and Brian kicked Rick in the back of the head, and you know and you know and Brian kicked Rick in the back of the head, and Arn laid Rick with a DDT, and he pinned Rick. So I think this was after the match that Pillman had with Liger. And all of a sudden, we'll show you what I just found here. And then Pillman is in the Four Horsemen. He was in this legendary group in a stable. It was known as the Four Horsemen. Chris Benoit came in. Uh, Chris Benoit came in right after that. So just Arn and Rick. So see the four H t-shirts. I think they got sold at that period. It got sold at that period. Then all the stuff he went and everybody went in on some things that he would just probably accustomed to. He lived his he lived and breathed his character so much. Even he had his hunger for the spotlight that he wanted to eat off of. But we're looking at 1991. I think this was after one of the matches that Brian had done. I think it's at a I feel it's at a Wrestle War. I feel it's at Wrestle War, and nobody else even know why. The other picture will still show you. I'll show you here. There's a photo of a Pillman. There's a photo of Pillman sporting the old Cincinnati muscle shirt. He on the fanny pack around his waist. And the story what came out beneath until 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 92, until when Pillman started winning light heavyweight titles. Uh he started winning this the WCW light heavyweight title and TV title. You know that videotape came like what uh June 6th of 92. Well, I was like 10 years old. I was only 10. I was only 10 years old when he had cut these promos. After 1991, he was he was straight bubbling. This is right after 1990 when he had we tag teamed with Tom Zank. They call him the Z Man in National Wrestling Alliance. They wrestled some tag team and then won the United States tag belts in 91 in 1990. I think it was 1990 when when and guess who called the match? It was Crispy and Terry Funk. It was Crispy and Terry Funk. So all the stories that could have been completely told, to say the least. Okay, well, all the way to like 95, all the way to like see, it goes back to where Brian was signing autographs. He was he was a sports guy. He was a football guy. What do you see the rest of 95? Where Pillman was in the Four Horsemen, nobody even know why he was in it. when Rick had snatched he snatched the microphone. He snatched the mic from Mean Gene uh during the interview. But it happened in Fall Brawl when Pillman wrestled Mark Miro. Mark Miro, who used to be married to young Rena Marlette. You know, he battled against Johnny B. Bad, who had to be Mark Miro. You know, matches that Pillman could ever do in matches that nobody else even find out though. Yeah, this is where Pillman got manhandled by Sting. The 1995 card that was out there. There's a picture of Liger and Pillman from '95 when Nitro started. Yep. Okay, there was Anderson and Pillman. There was Anderson and Pillman. Yeah, there was Anderson and Pillman. Uh, versus Sting versus Rick Flair and Sting. Rick Flair and Sting battled Arn Anderson and Brian Pillman. Now there was someone from Halloween Havoc around October of '95. So we got other stuff that we had to show you here. There's March of '95. This is before Nitro. That's before Nitro. Before Nitro, he battled Tony Vincent. Uh, April of '95, he battled Arn Anderson until all this happened. The wrestling game was so beyond on top of everything that they went through. Those are the Great American Bash. I think he battled Alex Wright. I don't know who he battled Alex Wright though. But nobody else even know why. I never seen them wrestle. This from the Bolt. This was before Zank and Pillman had to split up. Okay, we're going straight to the 1996 to 1996 thing when he was already in WCW at that period. We're going to '96. Okay. Um, on over to January of '96, he battled Dean Malenko, I think. Pillman to do on. He pushed it up. Okay. Uh, so he had to block it off with this. until he caused a lot of things. Until Pillman caused everything to happen. This is where they teamed up. This is where Pillman and Benoit and Pillman had teamed up. Oh, we push it off. I push it. He blocked this until this happened. All right, until February of '96, he was in the ring with Kevin Sullivan. You know, and then all of a sudden he battled Kevin, and then Kevin pulled out a strap and he said, I respect you, Booker Man." He says, "I respect you, Booker Man." That's what he said. And Pillman, he started running out there, jumping the barricade, and acting like a crazy person. And all of a sudden, they all beat him up with chairs and all that until he left and going to ECW. That's how he got fired. And Pillman got fired because of the way that he acted. You know, on TV. He came in early 1996. He came in at ECW Cyber Slam right at the end of February. At the end of February of '96, and everybody else knew the story. This is after his run. After he got, that's after Pillman got interviewed by Bischoff in January of '96. It's after my dad's 36th birthday. That could be his last. Then the ECW debut promo that they have of him, it ran deep until Super Brawl. This is after the Super Brawl. He said some shit. Pillman said some shit to piss off Arn, and then Arn was gonna slap Brian. Arn was like, "Yo," Arn told Brian like this. I told you to keep your mouth shut." That's after Arn slapped Brian right in the face. Mm. Cause cause Brian done said some shit that made that pissed off Arn. Kevin Silver said this punk has no respect. His punk has no whatever you call it, he said that shit. This punk is not horseman material. Though that's what then Pillman said some shit. Horseman. Not for anybody. Right on. Then Owen smacked him. Owen smacked Brian. He was like Owen was like telling Brian, "Oh, I thought I told you to keep your mouth shut." That's what he told him that. Damn a Super Bowl. All the shit that Brian was talking, that was all Brian would do is piss off everybody. That's his tail deception there. That's what changed it. Until Pillman came to ECW. Until Pillman came to ECW, and he came back there. Pillman came back to ECW just to act a fool. He still talk about he's gonna yank his Johnson whatever out, and he's gonna piss in the ring, and then and Joey Styles told him, "No, no, no, don't you do it," you know. Even though Todd Gordon, Paul Heyman, and Shane Douglas came out there, and yeah, they came out there, and then they pulled Brian back. They pulled him right back. That's what we said in this promo. It's more of what you can hear about what we said in this promo that kind of upsets a bunch of people. They just don't even go to where it's supposed to happen. The thing about Brian Pillman is he's just this loose cannon type of person. He was going off the wall and off, and going off the wall and nuts, and you know, he's the things that they knew of what Brian is acting kind of made him look like he was ready for something. All stories we had seen throughout the history until Pillman had got into a car accident. And then it's what happened with Pillman when he got into a car accident. The Hummer H1 right here will show you. Until Brian Pillman wrecked that Hummer. He just fell asleep and nodded off in the wheel, and he crashed a Hummer right into a tree trunk. He crashed onto a tree trunk. Too many bumps in my hand. That's during his ECW run. That's during his ECW run. And later he returned to the ring in a wheelchair. Rob Van Dam. Anybody else even know this? Uh, he was one of the job guys in WCW. As you know, he was one of the jobber guys. Known as Robbie V. His real name was Robert Zatowski. Well, he was Robbie V at WCW. Now even though 96, he's he's Mister he's Mister whatever he call himself. The whole fucking show. Um, he he willed him to the ring or whatever reason, but he willed himself to the ring. He sported that T-shirt that says he has a middle finger. Uh, it has the name "Censor This." That's what it says. "Censor This," and two exclamation points. So that's what he's wearing. That's what he shows you what he was wearing in '96. That's that's what after he had this near fatal car accident. That was all the way what April of '96 until between May and June. Until May and June, he left. He left and gone to the WWE. He left and gone to the WWE. If it was in June, if it was around June of '96, he went to the WWF. Well, before it became WWE in like 2002, he went to the contract signing. We had signed a deal with the company, especially the WWF, which was now the WWE. Uh, he signs with them after he had that car accident. I think it was in April of '96 that nearly took his life. But he was supposed to return to WCW after his stint in ECW. It's all stories until and then later he came through like then later June 23rd of that year he came into the King of the Ring. He was gonna pillage and plunder the Federation like he said. So explosive they have of him and Pillman especially. Pillman was at the In Your House show. Is without the I think it's him without the walking stick or a cane he had. The thing about Pillman, that's how crazy Pillman is. You know, he was so out of control. He's so out of his mind. Everything this man had done to put himself through all sorts of dangers. When you see some matches that he had done, not this one. Don't know how he battled. Pillman had matches that was stemming from. I mean, until he hadn't had one until he comes out uh with a bad messed up ankle like he had in the contract signing. If it was JJ Dillon, if it was JJ Dillon or one of them started talking to him like he told me he wasn't ready. He told Pillman that Pillman was not ready. So one thing I knew of, sometimes you had to look at these things as like the cannon fodder. It's cannon fodder or something. But in July, he would have wrestled. But August, he wouldn't have. But September, you never know what happens. There's a photo of Pillman. Pillman had on those Reeboks when when he have when he have interviewed Steve. I think he told Steve that he told Steve like Steve's going to be getting away with Bret Hart, and Steve is not hearing any of that. He doesn't want to hear that. Steve wants to Steve wants to maim the hell out of Pillman, beat him down, shatter Pillman's ankle, whatever reason, you know, things of that nature. Well, Pillman had on the jeans, had on these blue jeans, toe up jeans that he had on. The t-shirt he had on, the black vest that he had on, and he he had it on, and all of a sudden Pillman got sent home, and then he got sent back to his house in Walton, Kentucky, with his I think it's along with let me see what I can find. Along with his widow here, with his widow here. No, and then he got sent home back to Walton, Kentucky. after after he got attacked by Steve Austin until he then Pillman stayed home and he had this pistol out in his hand. Melanie is sitting right behind him. Melanie is sitting behind him as Pillman is clutching onto the to 9mm handgun. Looks like a Colt 45 gun. And that's all he did is yell Austin meets Pillman 9mm Glock, and I'm gonna blast his sorry ass straight to hell. And then all of a sudden, and Kevin Kelly was in Pillman's house in Walton, Kentucky. The camera crew with them. It was like nobody else even knew the story behind it. And Kevin Kelly yelled, Austin Austin's on his way. And Pillman's like, what? Austin's on his way. And Vince is like, what? There's live right there. November of '96. This is called Pillman's Got a Gun angle. You know? Austin will attack Pillman at at Pillman's Walton, Kentucky home. Austin will attack some of Pillman's friends who was trying to protect Pillman. Austin trying to use some sort of tire iron or crowbar to bust a window in and bust the whatchamacallit, bust a window, then he helped himself into the house. Laura said, Austin, don't go in there. And then screen went fade to black and it went fade to black and it went to the shock value. And then Austin leaves, and then and says and then Kevin Kelly says something to Vince McMahon live on the air, and Kevin was like, oh my god, he's back. All that shit happened with the main way, and they have this. All craziness going on. You never know what happened. All the craziness started happening real quick. Yeah. Pillman so young, let him go. Oh, kill the son of a bitch. Let him go. Pillman yelling and yelling and yelling for his friends, let him go. He'll kill him. He'll kill Austin. He said he'd go kill Austin. He's like saying, let Austin go. That's what he yelled. This shit just ended with Melanie Pillman, with Melanie, crying her eyes out, screaming for help. She was crying her eyes out, screaming for fucking help. Everybody else knew the story. And all the way to like 97. We're going straight in. Okay, we're going all the way to like 97 on. Okay, we're going to like 97. That's where we're going. That's where we're going. We're going to like 97. That's where we're going. This is what we are going. This is what we were going. This is what we are going. On. This is what we're going, folks. Shit. That's after the accident. God damn. See, throughout the years, his his widow, Melanie, he had two kids. You know, he had Alexis Reed, who had later died, and Skylar, who's already in it, there were those two came from two previous marriages. So Brian and uh Brian and Melanie, they have Brian Jr. Uh, well, Brittany, Brittany came along. That came Brittany Pillman, that came from Rochelle, his Brian Pillman's uh previous marriage. Had to be Rochelle, who had passed away. So a bunch of other kids. The thing about Brian Pillman, his legacy kind of kept him at the loop. We're going to 1997. All right, we're gonna find 1997. About 97. All right, we got all the stuff going on. See, we got matches from Brian Pillman. We're gonna look at all the shit. I already went through that. I already went through that shit yesterday. I just went through that. I just went through that yesterday. See, Pillman was already. I mean, he was having a ball throughout January of '97. You know, he probably wrestled around January '97, February of '97, March of '97. Films around, and then April of '97. Pillman went haywire with his loose cannon gimmick. So he went in with the gimmick. You know, Pillman went crazy, and then all of a sudden they had him doing some stuff going on all the way to like May and August, May and all the way to like May, uh, until May. We'll play this for y'all.
Hate touching athlete's foot? Use Lotrimin Ultra No Touch. Cures with 1 week treatment.
Trust the brand that invented the game. Club Dells, the original cocktail in a can.
From Cincinnati, Ohio, weighing in at 234 pounds, the ticking time bomb, Brian Pillman.
Good evening, everybody. Jim Ross and James E. Cornette here at ringside. The Hart Foundation following the loose cannon. Brian Pillman right down here to the ring. And, here he comes. Hey! Whoa. Hey, I'm on your side, Brian. I'm on your side. I'm just keeping it warm. He's trying to take your job. I'm just keeping it.
Pillman trying to intimidate.
Because I wanted to have somebody out here that would give an honest opinion of things. I like these guys. You're trying to instigate trouble between me and Brian Pillman where there is none.
Pillman trying to intimidate Corny.
Mr. Pillman is closely associated, even though he's not officially a member of the Hart Foundation. And you know what Steve Austin said about Brian Pillman?
May 24th of '97. Pillman's in action.
Brian Pillman and Tony Williams one-on-one here. And this is Pillman's first time in a WWF ring. Yeah, when Pillman signed with the WWF over a year ago, he was well on his way to recovery from an automobile accident when 8 months ago in Pillman's own hometown of Cincinnati, Steve Austin is the man who nearly destroyed that bad ankle and sent him back out of action. He's been recovering ever since, and it's been 8 months in the making that Steve Austin and Brian Pillman would come one-on-one. All right, Pillman. And Brian, I'm just keeping this spot warm for you. You're the man. You are the man. You're the man.
You're always a man. You're always a man now, Jimmy.
You're the man.
Hick.
You're the man.
You say why you gonna be on Pillman's side, Jimmy? Man, Pillman was about to grab Corny.
You're the one that's blowing your whiskey-smelling breath in my face, trying to cause trouble with me and Pillman. He's a psychopath. Well, certainly, even though this is Brian Pillman's first time James seen a WWF ring, both you and I have seen him on many occasions. He's a great athlete, and one thing's for sure, he may not be called Flying Brian anymore thanks to Steve Austin. And it's so amazing that Steve Austin and Brian Pillman at one time were tag team partners, as Austin referred to when they were back in the Bush Leagues. But Austin said he carried him, Pillman said he carried Austin, and it's going to come to a head at the King of the Ring. Well, the King of the Ring, it's Austin and Pillman one-on-one finally. And look at these bullies from the Hart Foundation.
Boom.
Look at taking turns.
They beat them down.
Hanging back. You know, hey, Charlie Manson never did any of the dirty work either. Bret Hart, what's he think? What's he think?
He knows. He knows. He knows. Slammies. Slammies. Two slammies. Oh.
That should be enough. Been enough a long time ago. Nothing more than a glorified workout for the former
Uh-oh.
And he was a Calgary Stampeder too. That's where he met the Hart family and trained in the dungeon of Stu Hart.
Oh. Did Pillman win? Oh, no. He ain't done with him yet.
And even though Pillman is not an official member of the Hart Foundation, thinks of Bret Hart in revered terms. Take a look at the replay. The impact.
Oh, the neck breaker.
Put away by the loose cannon. Brian Pillman under the watchful eye of the hitman. Bret Hart mighty proud of himself.
See, one of the moments they had was one of the matches, that came from the Bolt. Uh, Pillman, man, this is before all this shit happened. With all the way to like June, he wrestled. I think it was July. He teamed up. He teamed up with the Hart Foundation. Owen Hart, Bret Hart, uh, David Smith, who had to be the British Bulldog, and Jim Neidhart, the Anvil, who was already in it. It was a 10-man tag team match. It was a Canadian Stampede. I feel it was around the time when ECW had their WrestlePalooza pay-per-view. Canadian Stampede is a WWF in your house pay-per-view that back then, the late 90s. That was in Canada. So they knew where the story went. Till August, and then he wrestled, and then in September he wrestled. Uh, that was by the time when Bill Goldberg came to WCW. So October, not thinking about October. See, I think it was September. I think it was in September when he was. I think it was. I think it was a tag team match. I think it was for the. I think it was for the WWF tag team belts, the old belts, the old tag belts, the old World Tag Team belts. That was the old ones. Uh, I think it was Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels that was like the challengers, and then Owen Hart and the British Bulldog, David Smith, they were the champions at that time, and then all of a sudden, Michaels and Austin beat them for those tag belts, and they won them. And all of a sudden, they got jumped by the entire Hart Foundation, along with Pillman himself. So it got crazy at the dark. You know, that's why I'm doing this tribute. You know what I mean? They're asking, did Stone Cold break Brian Pillman's ankle? Yes, he did. He did that on he did that on October 28th, 1996, on the WWF Raw Is War taping. The Raw Is War taping. Austin did break Pillman's ankle. Yeah, on October 28th of 96. That was like before Halloween. Then on November 4th of that year, he's sitting at home with that broken ankle. A very fucked up ankle. That's back in 96. So we'll go jump. We'll still continue with 1997. So you never know what's going to happen. All right. We'll go straight into the death. I'm going to go to the pictures and I'm going to head to the death. Brian Pillman death. Going to Brian Pillman death. What's what we're going to? Yeah. Pillman is supposed to be back um at WWE. I think it was back at the on Raw taping. He was supposed to be at the Kill Center and nothing. And he didn't show up, even though he was way in Minnesota at that period. I think it's after what the hell what happened. I think it's what I think it was happening. I think it was at he had these matches with Dustin Rhodes at I think it was at it was at SummerSlam '97 and then it happened at Ground Zero. Even Rhodes beat Pillman. Pillman's going to have to wear a dress, and then later those weeks, Pillman wrestled Rhodes again, and Marlena. Let me tell you about Marlena. Uh, who happened to be Dustin Rhodes' manager and real life former wife. Real life former wife. We find this woman. Yep, Terry. Yeah, that's the woman who was managing Dustin Rhodes in the early '90s. In 1990, Terry. I think it was around the time when the I think it was before this. Molina was handling Molina was managing Dustin at the time when he was Goldust. He was about to hit Brian right in the head with that purse where he had some sort of he had a brick inside. He had a some sort of a brick inside that purse. But until the referee had turned his back, Pillman Pillman hit Rhodes right in the head with Terry's purse. Then and then Pillman wins the match over Rhodes and then Pillman gets Molina, who had to be Rhodes's manager and real life now former wife, you know, who had to be Terry. Anybody remember her as Alexandra York in WCW when Dustin Rhodes came in? Rhodes came to WCW in the early 1990s. It was 1990, and Terry Runnels came in as Alexandra York, and I think that's like the rebound type of thing. So one thing I knew of, they did this triple X files thing. They did this triple X files thing, and then it all happened. Then the triple X files thing. Then one thing, Pillman did not show up for work. Pillman did not show up for work. He ends up, in the hotel, you know, October of '97. He did not show up at the Kill Center in Missouri. He didn't show up. So Cornette had got to a phone call with with the people that was working at the hotel in Minnesota. And he asking if Brian was at the hotel, and one of the people that worked the hotel tell him like cops just came in and cops came in and they found Brian Pillman dead in his hotel room. You know, even though even though everybody else knew the story about it until the fans knew that Brian Pillman died. We go to this thing. Until a lot of people and the fans did not know any of it until Brian Pillman died. I mean, he was 35 years old. You know, and they're saying that 20 years ago today we lost the loose cannon, flying Brian Pillman. He was a record-setting college football player as a defensive end. He set the record for the most tackles for a loss while playing for Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. Brian Pillman was a two-time second-team All-American although he went undrafted by the NFL. He ended up signing with the Cincinnati Bengals in 1984, where Pillman won the Ed Block Courage Award for his team. He went to the CFL in 1986. After the season, he ended his football career and began training in wrestling under the legendary Stu Hart. He wrestled in Hart's Calgary-based promotion Stampede Wrestling. He was a two-time international tag champion in the team of Bad Company with Stu Hart's son Bruce. Pillman is a member of Stampede Wrestling Hall of Fame. He will soon go to WCW in '93 and team up with Stunning Steve Austin to form the Hollywood Blondes. They would win the NWA and WCW World Tag Team Championship belts. Pillman had as success as a single star. Too. Pillman was a two-time WCW light heavyweight champion, winning the tournament to become the inaugural champion. The first professional. This is what a fan says. The first professional wrestling match that I ever saw live was Pillman versus Jushin Thunder Liger at the first Nitro live. My dad had a business trip in Minnesota and took me along for the week, so he wouldn't miss my birthday. He did not watch wrestling. He but was looking for something for us to do. So he took me to the Mall of America for the first Nitro. I met Hulk Hogan, but I do not remember that. I only remember two things: Pillman versus Liger and Sting. I fell in love with wrestling, watching the first match, and I had been hooked. I've been hooked since. HOOKED since. Pillman would have lived a short Pillman would have a short-lived run in the ECW where he would find his loose cannon persona. Pillman would unfortunately find himself in a coma after he crashed his H1 Hummer into a tree in Kentucky. He would also shatter his ankle, forcing Pillman to adapt a more grounded style. After Pillman entered the WWE, he began teaming and then feuded with Steve Austin. Their feud gave us the notoriously infamous gun incident. Pillman would soon align himself with the Hart Foundation. After the Austin feud was over, Pillman began to feud with Goldust. That's Dustin Rhodes over I think he meant Marlena, not Melina. Not Melina, it's Marlena. That could be Terry. This short-lived feud gave us the Brian Pillman's Triple X files. This angle would continue until his untimely death. Pillman was scheduled to face Mick Foley's Doodler persona at the Bad Blood in Your House pay-per-view. The show was about to begin at 7 p.m. and Jim Cornette was instructed to find Pillman. He called the hotel. The receptionist told him that they found Pillman dead in his hotel room by the maid around 1 o'clock that day. The autopsy revealed that Pillman died of a heart attack, the same thing that his dad died from, caused by the undetected heart condition, arteriosclerotic heart disease. This disease has caused the death of Brian Pillman's father. Vince McMahon would make a bizarre decision and hold an interview with Brian Pillman's widow, Melanie. The very next night on Raw, it it was especially shocking because of the gimmick that Brian Pillman was in while he died. It is one of the very few angles in the history of professional wrestling that I find too tasteless. This interview should never have been done. In February, Pillman's son Brian Zachary announced that he he had decided to follow his father's footsteps to become a wrestler, a pro wrestler. He wants to follow for his father's high flying style and keep his legacy alive. He should be traveling to any time to begin his training. Pillman was always before his time. He was a high flyer before it was popular. He was flying around the ring before Eric Bischoff's esteemed cruiserweight division existed. He was edgy and controversial before the Attitude Era. If his timing had lined up better, than he could have been a major star. By the time Pillman got to the WWE, for the world to see, he had already severely damaged his ankle. It's a shame that we never actually got to see how the great Brian Pillman actually was. I feel like it's only a matter of time before the Hart Foundation is inducted into the Hall of Fame as a faction. Hopefully, then we may see Brian Pillman take his place in the Hall of Fame. And then I had to read this shit every time. I already did a live show based on him yesterday. Now it's time for me to do the story based on him today. Rest in peace, Flying Brian Pillman. He will be missed anyway, so I had to memorialize him just like uh just like I did yesterday. Had to do it twice. I had to do that yesterday. That I had to do it today because it's a matter of time before I had to do this thing. But it's probably over an hour. I'll be finished with this stream. I'm gonna be on hiatus again, and then I'll see you on the 27th. I'll see you on the 27th for the death of Lisa Lopez, aka Left Eye. I'm out.